Do you love white people?
Absolutely.
You love white people?
Yes, I do.
What's wrong with the blacks?
I don't think there's anything wrong with them. What's wrong with humans?
No, but what's wrong with the blacks?
Okay, tell me what do you mean by that, and maybe I can answer what I think about it.
In New York, crime out of control, and the blacks are leading the way in the crime. Blacks are always complaining, and they believe that white people are superior to them because they're always calling white people white supremacy and superior to them. Blacks are angry. The black men don't control the black women. They're subject to the woman. They want reparations. They want affirmative action. They don't want to earn their way anymore. And they're always complaining about the white man. They create ghettos. Everything they touch turn to dust. What's wrong with the blacks?
I don't know, and I'm not at the place to say that that's exactly what happens.
You don't know that that's happening?
I haven't had enough interaction to ask them.
You don't know about
what's happening?
You don't know about affirmative action?
I know those things, but I don't know many people dealing with that stuff. I haven't met any. Well, the blacks in our church, they're the opposite of what you're saying. So I know that might seem impossible, but the African Americans that I pastor, they're not complainers. They're not struggling. They're blessed.
And when you ask them in your church, what's wrong with the blacks, what do they say?
I've never asked them what's wrong with the blacks.
Why not?
It's never come up. We don't deal with that in our church.
Why not? No, they need help. Why don't you deal with it?
The blacks in our church have never asked for help because they're very self-sufficient. They've made their way. God has blessed them, and they're doing great things. And they never had that whatever mentality that you're talking about doesn't really exist much in our church. So I haven't had that. Whatever it is that you're talking about, low is me or I'm struggling. We don't deal with that. We don't deal with that in our church.
And why don't you?
We just haven't had the opportunity to our members to. I just haven't encountered any of our membership dealing with that. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Right. Then that'd be a little bit naive for me to say that.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen it. The ones in our church, man, they're thriving. They're entrepreneurs. They're making things happen. They're loving life, and they serve our leadership and our staff. I just haven't had that encounter yet. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, though. And if it did, I don't know how I would answer that. When that time comes, I guess we'd do a part 2 interview, and I'd say, I got the answer for that.
They are fewer in numbers in this country, right? 12 to 13% are blacks. Right. And yet they commit most of the violent crime, and they are angry. And why do you think they commit most of the violent crime and they are so few in number?
You know, I don't know. I could tell you why I did it. I know why I did it.
But you're not black. I'm not asking about you.
Then I don't know how to answer that because I thought Latinos were black. I thought we were both black.
They don't even like Latinos. Have you noticed?
I agree with you. That I can agree with you on. There's some issues there. I agree with you with that one. You know what I'm saying? But
they hate everybody. And the Bronx, why is that?
In the Bronx, we're the same. And that's because we birthed hip hop. So we have a different view of that. So Latinos and blacks were basically the same. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Be very honest with you.
Have you ever wondered, even though you might not say it out loud, have you ever wondered why are the blacks so angry? And because they were not always that way. They only became that way for the most part when they had the civil rights movement. Other than abortion, the civil rights movement was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks. Because prior to the civil rights movement, black people had fathers and mothers and grandparents, and they thought and did for themselves. They didn't put some man over them as their leader. But once the civil rights movement happened, they gave up God and put man over them, Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King and all those people.
Right.
And they have never returned. They've gotten worse instead of better. Do you agree with that?
You know, as far as the statement on the civil rights, I don't know if I could agree with you on that. But as far as these ministers that you have mentioned, I've rubbed elbows with many of them because I travel the influential circuits. And I would say, that God is absent in a lot of those, how I would say these influential, not all of them, but these particular influential ministers, as I travel in their green rooms, you could tell that God has left the building a long time ago.
And yet the blacks follow them. Why?
I don't know. Maybe tradition. maybe culture,
blind.
Maybe blind. I don't know. I'd let your other guests answer that because I have a pretty multi-diverse congregation, so I don't know. But I would assume culture blindness, tradition. It's all they know.
It's not tradition because when I was growing up, the blacks were not like that. The blacks were decent. They knew our battle was a spiritual battle. It has nothing to do with race. It was about good and evil. And it only started when they sold their soul to the so-called civil rights movement. Which is worse, abortion for the blacks or the civil rights movement?
No comment.
What?
No comment.
Why
You're not
not?
gonna catch me on that one. Because there's no wrong. There's no right answer there. If I say both, you'll say the civil rights movement. If I say the opposite, then there's no answer to that.
Because they both is horrific. You're right about that. But
I'll let you. Well, allegedly, that's what you say.
What do you mean?
Meaning, I'm cleaning my hands on that. I'll let you say that. I didn't say that, so I'm not going to get caught up that I said that. You said that, so I'm just listening to my host tell me their particular views on that.
Oh man. So
you can't catch me. I'm from the Bronx. You can't catch me, sir.
I'm not trying to catch you. I'm fellowshipping with you.
Okay. We're exchanging ideas. Okay, so then I have the right to say, I'm throwing it back. Hot potato. I'm throwing it back at you, man.
That's amazing. Do you believe that racism exists?
Yes, I do.
And where's your proof that racism exists?
I've seen it. I've seen some variations of it as I was growing up, based on my interactions with particular individuals. I've seen it even within my own people.
And what does it look like? What does it look like? What does racism look like?
I believe it's the superiority of one race feeling that they're superior over another. And then withholding any, I guess, I don't know how to explain it after that, other than one race feeling superior over another, and then everything that has to do with our interactions as a human species between one another, those decisions being either limited or completely expunged based on that superiority mindset that a person would have. I've seen variations of it. I'll be honest with you, I have not seen the harshnesses of it that we've seen during the civil rights era and all of that. I haven't seen it to that degree with the lynching. I wasn't alive at that time, so I don't know. All I know is what was told to me. But I know what I have seen as far as how it was projected towards me as brown, living in New York. I seen it in prison. I seen it with my own Latinos being racist with blacks and whites, and then I seen blacks being racist with Latinos and whites. So I've seen it based on interactions with the people that I've dealt with growing up, but I haven't seen it in the fullness of the historical context of it with the lynching and the fire hoses. I haven't seen it not in that degree.
So if racism is the one race believe is superior to the other, that means that all people would be racist. Because all races believe all color people believe their race is superior to somebody else's race. So are you saying that all people are racist?
I would say there's a difference between racism and patriotism. All right, because I'm proud to be Afro-Latino, but I wouldn't think Afro-Latino is superior than any other race. But I would be proud to be Latino.
But people in your race think that they're superior to others. People in the black race and people in the white race. So you're saying all people are racist there?
No, I'd say some people, the ones that think like that, they're the racist ones.
Amazing.
In my race, though, in my race. And I would honestly say that it does exist. To sit here and say it doesn't exist, I'd be lying to you. Or I'm just trying to evade the answering the question. It does exist
Does God say racism exists?
I believe there's one verse that actually talks about that, but I wouldn't know if it is racism per se, but it does talk about the dealings with foreign nations and how God dealt with foreign nations and how the children of Israel was to deal with foreign nations.
But he never said racism. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says
the
racism.
The word itself is not. That's why I said the word itself. The word itself is not.
God said that
mannerisms might be to some degree, because Song of Solomon talks about where she was describing that her fellow light-skinned people were judging her and ostracizing her because she was dark-skinned. So that's the only verse in the Song of Solomon that kind of can maybe indicate that there was racism at that time. Also, the fact that being mad that Moses potentially married a Cushite could be a form of racism depending on how you look at that verse. So I would say it could be, but the word itself is not in that word itself is not in the Bible.
God said that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities and wickedness in evil places. So being a preacher of God, why would you say that it's racism when you know that it's a battle between good and evil? You're either right or you're wrong, and it has nothing to do with the physical at all, but it's the spirit. Why would you call it something other than that?
Because it's not all just right or wrong when it comes to that.
It's either right or it's wrong.
No, that's not how it goes.
You're either of good or you're of evil.
Okay, now that, yes, but that's a trick. That's a trick answer. You're gaslighting it. You're
How does trick answer? Right or wrong mean good and evil?
No, because if you're saying if we wrestle not against flesh and blood, then if it's like that, then nobody should go to jail for wrongdoing. Because then they could say, hey, my brother, it's battle of flesh and blood. You see what I'm saying? We take people to jail because it's not just a battle of flesh and blood. Baby, you're going to jail, man, if you did this thing.
That's because we have evil people.
We would excuse ourselves from actions. See?
That's because we have evil people making and pushing the laws. Okay. So let me ask.
I can't fight you on that, man. At that point, I don't know what to tell you, man.
And so in our country today, the people of color, and especially the blacks, the people of color, are trying to run the white man out of his own country. We all agree that America was founded and created by white people with the help of God. And because of that, everybody else came. So the blacks and others are trying to run the white man off of his own land. Is that racism?
First, let's deal with, I think this is a conquered land. So it's not a white land. It is a predominantly white land now. So, but it's a conquered land. So it's let me just say this. It's really a red land. It's a red land. So let's just own that.
What does that mean,
but it's a white land now. Okay, so given it's a white land now, the red can't complain. They got dominated. You have to rise up as a people and take over.
When
and take
you say
it back.
red, are you talking about the Indians?
Yes.
Oh, so is that racism?
Let me answer your question before you get to the other stuff. Okay, so now that it is predominantly white based on the tenets of our U.S. Constitution, let me just say this, that I'm with you on that. I love this country. I believe in America. I don't believe in critical race theory that this country was inherently founded upon evil. I believe the founding of this country had evil people in it who were more theists rather than Christians. But nevertheless, I'm proud to be an American, 100%.
So is it racist then that the colored people are trying to run the white man off his own land? Is that racist? They are outwardly discriminating against the whites in every area now. Is that racism?
I believe I don't think it's racism, but I do believe it's feeling indebted to take back the rights that were taken from them, being that this country was supposed to give everyone free rights. I believe they feel that there's an injustice that they're trying to justice for.
You're saying that the blacks trying to throw white people off their own land, that's not racism?
I don't know how to answer that because I don't know collectively if that's what they're doing.
You know that's what they're doing, man. You hear about it all the time now.
I hear about it all the time, but the biggest false prophet that there is the media. So I don't believe everything the media says.
Well, you can believe that. It's true.
Okay. So if you tell me it's true, okay.
So is that racism?
I don't know.
Amazing.